So, a few days ago, I started this series about resting in God's sovereignty by Ernest Easley. We went over day one the other day, which was obviously the day one devotional, along with the introduction of the book. And now we're going to go over day two. Day two was short and sweet, and we'll start with the Bible verse that was for day two. And the Bible verse goes as follows: I have learned to be content in whatever circumstances I find myself. And that's from Philippians chapter 4, verse 11. And the focus of day two after the verse was Paul resting in God's sovereignty. The insight I found from the verse and the day two devotional itself was that resting in God's sovereignty is progressive. It's a gradual process. And it's a gradual process that is built by, I call it the three T's: time, troubles, and trust. And now when we go back to unpacking the verse about being content whatever circumstances you find yourself, in Christianity, really that's just not stressing about the events of the world. Like, if you're having a hard time with finances, you can only control what you can control. You go to work, you earn your paycheck, you control what you can control. Sometimes things are going to be out of your control, and it's key, whether you're Christian or not to panic in those situations. Now, Christians, you learn that, hey, God's got my back. I don't know where a blessing is coming from, but it will come over time. You might not get what you want, but you'll get what you need. You'll get by, and you just trust God that He's got your back and He's going to get you through this. And that's a big part of Christianity. So being content in circumstances you find yourself is just not panicking. Just, you think that things will just work out. And you're happy with where you are. Um, and So a major focus of the day two devotional talked about how Paul was content and trusted in God, and he rested in God's sovereignty. And resting in God's sovereignty, as I mentioned, is progressive, and it doesn't just happen overnight. You're not going to wake up and just be like, I finally got it. It's not going to happen overnight. Like I can just walk with the Lord automatically. It's definitely a process. It takes time, and really hard times builds character. And it's the same thing with coming to God. You're gonna be tempted to sin. You're gonna go through hard times, and in those hard times, it's important that you don't blame God. That you understand that there's a reason that you're going through things, and just knowing that you can get through it. God gives His hardest tests to His best soldiers. There's a growing experience. That's how you should view it. This is a chance for me to grow. This is a chance for me to build character. This is a chance for me to build that connection with God. So, like I mentioned, the three T's: time, troubles, and trust. Going through overtime, overcoming those troubles, that's what leads to the third T, which is trust. So really, that's a key component in coming to God. You're going to go through things, and really, you'll learn to hate sin. And even if you're not a Christian, things that are considered a sin and are in the Ten Commandments, the Ten Commandments, I'm not trying to force anyone to be a Christian, but really, things in the Ten Commandments like not stealing, not murdering, not cheating on your wife, you know, um, not, being envious, you know, um, those are all just things that we should all do. Like, who would want to steal and murder and do all those horrible things? So whether Christian or not, these are things that we should be following. But yeah, just like the whole concept of day two is just trusting the process. Whatever circumstances you find yourself, you just know that you're going to get through it. Stressing is not going to help. I mean, it's so easy to do. I myself have generalized anxiety disorder. I have a lot of anxiety, but it's taken time, but I've learned not to panic in situations. Like I said, you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. And I've kind of found that in life, that I always kind of get what I need to get by. And sometimes something unexpected comes up that is really, you can count it as a blessing. And, it comes at unexpected times. And it's just trusting that, one way or another, things are going to work out. Now, you still obviously want to do the things that you can control to reduce your stress. Like, if you have a job, you obviously want to go to your job. Don't call out unnecessarily and lose money so you don't have money to pay your bills. Obviously, you have control over something like that. You don't have control over an emergency that might come up unplanned for. You do have control over whether you have a nest egg potentially to cover that, or you have friends and family that that can help you get through that. But whatever circumstances you find yourself in, just not blaming others, not blaming God, and just trusting the process that everything's going to work out. And it does take time. That This is not a mindset that is easy to just overnight. You're going to stop worrying, and you're going to you know, it's just not an easy process. Worrying, anxiety, it's considered a disability for a reason. It's very hard to overcome. These are things, like I said, going back to the 3 T's: time, trouble, and trust. You go through enough troubles, and it really, you go through enough stuff, whatever comes up, you're like, hey, I can handle this. I've already been through a million other things. So, and that takes time to go through all those troubles. And then eventually, when you go through all that, that's what builds trust. So that is the end of day 2, my wrap up from my notes. And I look forward to doing day 3. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on the topic. And thank you for your time.